Hello, and welcome back to the Woodland Airsoft channel. In today's video, we're going to be doing something a little different, and I've never done something like this, so it might not be structured the best way, but I've had a lot of requests, especially from people in my local field and fields I go to, on how exactly I edit videos and how to go about doing that. So the first thing we're going to do is start out with the basics, your camera setup. So for that, this is the GoPro Hero 11. Have it set up in a brain exploder hat mount, but for a lot of kits, a lot of setups, you could use some sort of night vision setup where it like mounts into your helmet, or a lot of the die masks have a mounting point too. But this is what I like to use. I highly recommend some sort of screen protector, lens protector over your camera lens there, just to keep it safe. You're playing a sport where things are being shot at you. They're bound to crack. Can't really see it, especially here, but there is a crack here and this screen no longer works. I didn't bother protecting it. Then there's a hit on the back where it's cracked as well. But this is what I use. I use a 128 gigabyte micro SD card. Highly recommend that. It gives you plenty of storage for 4K quality. But yeah, you can use any type of GoPro as long as you're getting that first person point of view angle. So this is your most important camera because it's going to guide your story. This is going to be how you create your content. Unless you're doing like shorts or something like that, then you could get something like an average hit clip cam thing that you can put on your gun. It's like a scope cam but designed to immediately upload to like Instagram and some sort of shorts access. With this, I mentioned batteries. I highly recommend extra batteries. They make exothermo batteries, which are designed for cold temperatures. So if you have a cold environment, GoPro batteries do not do well in that. GoPro batteries in general don't have a long lifespan, maybe an hour of record time. And so it's really nice to just have a few extra. You can have them in a pouch, something like that, where you can just cycle them out and you can check its status using the GoPro. So that's the basics. Highly recommend those. They make little cubes you can get where you can put like 3 in. It'll tell you the charge life and all that. So I highly recommend something like that for your POV camera. That's going to be the first most important camera. But where do we go from there? A lot of people, especially beginner channels, I don't really see anything beyond that. Like, that's all they do. They just have that and they just show them running around shooting, and that's fine. Once we dive into Hitfilm, which is the editing software I use, I'll kind of show why I don't like that and I don't think it's very good. But it's a good way to start. I never really started that way. I always had all the cameras I wanted. I didn't think it was worth getting into YouTube without doing that, but it is a good way to start. Get your foot in the door and get some content up there. And maybe you just want stuff on YouTube for like your sake. It's just memories, something to look back on. But let's get to the next camera, which is the ScopeCam RunCam 2 4K. I very much like this camera. I highly recommend it. It's super easy to mount. Mounts to any Picatinny rail. You just twist this and it'll lock on, and boom, you have it. Super easy to use. You just slide that button forward, slide it back, done. Will say with this camera, ironically, it's a 4K camera. It says that if I didn't paint over this one, it says 4K literally on the side right here. You have to Bluetooth connect it to your phone, go into the app, set it to 4K. I didn't know that, so for a long time I wasn't shooting in 4K. I think I was shooting in 1080, which is like high definition, which is good. It's just you can do a lot better with a 4K camera, and that's what you paid for. So highly recommend this camera. A lot of people don't always know these are a thing. They also have lens protectors from RunCam they sell. Definitely get some, get an extra or two, because if it gets shot, you'll want something to replace it. But a lot of people think, you know, when people are using that scope cam that you see pop up on YouTube, that it's like someone mounting a camera to their scope or a phone to it, which I've seen that as well, but this is 100% the way to go. It's worth every penny, and they have a very long lifespan. Again, 128 gigabyte micro SD card, goes in the back here. There's like a little rubber protector, and it's a USB-C charging port. So that's the basics. I recommend going a step further, and a lot of big YouTubers, you'll notice they have these, and maybe even more cameras, maybe a shoulder mount, maybe a third person mount camera, maybe they have a 360 camera somewhere. But if you're just getting into the basics and this video is about what I do and how I do it, we're just going to do what I do. So I recommend one of these. This is what I like to call the magic camera, and we're going to demonstrate that once we get into the editing software, what I mean by that. It's very small, little cube, very rugged. I highly recommend a aluminum casing for it and some sort of metal arm. I also recommend a top mount. This one currently has an under rail mount just because my current MTW setup doesn't have top space at the moment, so this is the best way, but it's very bulky and big. I mean, it's not bulky, it's just kind of out there, so it's a little bigger than what I'd like. But the aluminum casing up here is a must-have. I've had 2 of these, and they've had them cracked, all sorts of things like that. Again, lens protector, 128 gigabyte micro SD card, and this is the Hero Session. You can also get the Hero 5 Session. They both seem to perform relatively the same. I mean, I'm sure if you go to the specs on their site, it's slightly different, but either one seems to work absolutely fine. And this camera is just going to be mounted on your gun, and it's going to be facing you. And you can tell it takes quite a beating. I don't know if the camera will pick this up, but if the light hits it right, there's like dents all over the back of this, and it's a beast. It does very well, has a very long battery life. Like, you know, I'll go through 2, 3, 4 individual batteries for the Hero 11, and this thing will be fine. Same with the scope camera, and it has a little screen up top where you can see its battery life and all that type of stuff, and then it has your side panel that opens up for charging in your SD card. So, how do we do it? How do we edit? You'll see in a lot of videos like Kicking Mustang, Airsoft Alphons, Dutch the Hooligan, Novridge, any of them, they're all using a setup somewhat like this. And maybe I'm going to break an Airsoft rule here that I'm not supposed to share, but you know, I want to just be transparent. That's what my channel's always been about. And I'm going to show you some tricks that are going to make your content more entertaining, more fun to watch, and just, you know, like, it's not a coincidence that every big channel somehow always hits 4 to 6 minutes long. They're doing a very specific strategy of editing, and when you see me go into the editor and explain how to do it, you'll get it too, how they're doing it. It's very clever. It plays a lot of tricks on your mind, and your mind is going to fill in those gaps, and that's what you want. You want your viewer to watch it and think, oh, this is exactly how it happened. This is very smooth. This is definitely how it unfolded. And in reality, maybe there's a little bit more stale stuff. If you play Airsoft, you know this, exactly what I'm talking about. You don't always get to a wall and immediately, boom, 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 contact 5 people in 30 seconds. It does happen, but not every video and not perfectly like that. So we're going to explain how these 3 cameras allow you to do that magic. So let's get straight into the editor here. Hopefully my screen recording is working this time. This is my 3rd time shooting this video. But I'm using Hitfilm Express 14. It is a free editing software. I'm not going to show how to download it or anything like that because it's been a long time, but I know it's a little sketchy if I remember right. It shouldn't ask you for any payments. If it does, look for an X somewhere, dismiss, loop around. Some of these free softwares will try to get you to donate basically or pay a subscription. And they make it seem like it's mandatory, but I've never spent a penny on this this editing software. So it's pretty user friendly, and we're going to go straight into the basics. You want to be in viewer, so you have viewer and your export, and we'll go into export towards the end of this video, but viewer is where you want to be, and you can zoom in with your mouse wheel, scroll in and scroll out to do your video. You can right click and you can drag your video around. Maybe you want to zoom in somewhere, maybe you want to move around a little bit. Right click's how you do that. Left click will allow you to select things and grab things and physically move them that are in the window. So you're going to have to set up a composite shot. So right here, I'm going to right click on it, go to properties, composite shot. You can name it whatever you want. I've just left it the generic composite shot 1, and you can go to your template. I have it in 1080 HD, 60 frames per second, full HD. I probably need to update this. I've never touched my composite shot since I started editing. When I started editing, I used very cheap cameras. They didn't have 4K quality, but if you scroll down, you have tons of options. I'll probably move to 4K UHD 60 frames per second here soon. Probably in my next video I'll try that, but we're gonna leave it here. Next, you're gonna go to your duration. You have milliseconds, seconds, minutes, hours. I recommend setting a long time frame here because it's going to allow you to put all of your stuff into your composite shot and move it around, and it doesn't have to be perfect. You'll get to that when you get to it, and it makes it easier to move around and work on things. Ooh, sorry, camera was bugging out there for a minute. But I have mine set to an hour, 8 minutes, 8 seconds, 8 milliseconds. I like to do at least an hour. Sometimes I'll do 2 hours. You have your width and height, 1920 over 1080. If you're doing YouTube shorts, just flip it. And frame rate, I have 60. So that's your composite shot, which you can see there's like an editor mode and a composite shot. I think default puts you in editor mode. I don't remember exactly how I made a composite shot. That'll definitely be something you need to do. It looks like actually it's down here on the left. Yeah, I can just make a second one. So it's right here. Just make a composite shot. Wow, I learned in 2 seconds making this video. Didn't learn that the first 2 shoots of this video. So just experiment with this. This is a really easy to use software, and everything's pretty friendly. There's other ones like DaVinci Resolve and Premiere and such that you have to pay for. DaVinci Resolve also has a free version, I believe, but I found it to be very confusing and very complex for someone that has never touched it. So you have a few modes here. You want to be in your cursor mode, which allows you to touch things and do things. So now we have our composite shot. So we can do things like, right here I already have all this red is my intro, for example. And if we were to hit play, once you hit play, you can then use spacebar. So I'm not using my mouse. Here, I'll move it off. I'm using my spacebar to kind of watch things now. And that's a really nice way to not always have to be using your mouse to hit play and all that. Maybe you want to do other things, move items around, overlays, such. So I have this set up where I basically have a bunch of things I use in almost every video. Highly recommend something like this. I call it my startup file. What I do is I've saved all this stuff into its own Hitfilm file, and whenever I add videos like we're going to do right now, so we'll go to somewhere like 3 minutes away from all the stuff before, you'll go to this file button, which is your import, and you'll select what you want. So we're going to drop scope cam footage. We'll drop it in right there, and you can drag and drop, and then we're going to set it to dark green, and we'll just leave that there. Then we'll go back to my I'm using an external hard drive, a digital one. Highly recommend it. A lot of computers won't have a ton of space to, do this type of thing all the time. Oh, okay. Cool thing I just kind of demonstrated without meaning to. So as you see, that just said load air, and that's the Hero 11 footage, the raw footage going into this. The GoPro series is too powerful in the formatting for Hitfilm. So what you have to do is, you'll get this load air, you'll go out of this, and you'll download this third-party software called Handbrake. And we'll open up Handbrake, and there we go. So we have Handbrake, and you'll go to File, and you'll go to your GoPro footage, so like this, and you can put more than one in using Control. Hold down Control, click each file, and you can drop them all in, and it'll give you some previews so you can see, make sure that's the video you want. You go to Preset, drop it down to Web Creator 2160p 64K, and then you'll hit Start Encode, or you can hit Add All, then Start Queue, and if you have a lot, it'll do that, and it'll drop them all wherever you want. You can control this Save As right here, wherever you want to put it, it'll drop all that stuff. Very, very cool. You can do this for lots of things. For other videos, if certain videos aren't working with Hitfilm, try dropping it in here and do this. It tends to somehow always make it compatible with Hitfilm. So let's go to the actual thing, which is my Handbrake, and the same video right here. Boom. And all of a sudden, that video magically works. And we'll drop it in, and you can see the viewer. Now something you're going to notice is it's for 4K, so it's much bigger than the frame. So you right click on that and hit Fit to Frame. And we're going to make it a light green. So now we have our head cam and our scope cam. Next thing we're going to do is find the reverse cam, which I believe is this. And we'll drop it in, and we'll make it, you can set it to whatever color. I like all sets of green for this, so I'd make it like that. So the next big thing is, well, how are you going to sync up everything, make sure it's all happening at the same time, because that's really nice to do with editing. So you're not like, oh, well, here's where I ran up. Well, now I need to somehow find where the scope camera footage lines up with that. So I'm going to show you how to do that. If you've ever seen me in a game or been around me at some field I've been to, you'll notice I do a sound check. It's basically where I say yeah really loud, and when you say that word, it has a gradual raise and a top point, and then it drops off really fast, which is why the word works really well for this. And you'll see in the soundbar over here what I mean. So we're going to unmute this real quick and show you. 60 seconds. And yeah, see how, and then right now I'm using the greater than, less than at the comma and decimal to go left and right by frame. And right there you can see that high red. It'll disappear here in a second, but when you're moving around you can do that. And then I hit C to cut, and it made that red line, I can cut it. And then to get out of the cut you just press V. So now we have it cut right there. You can see this gray bar here is going to tell me where the rest of the video is, because I can drag this and bring it back and now I have the whole video. Or I can hit Control Z, which is your undo button. It's just a quick button that you'll use a lot because you might hit something you didn't mean to hit. So we'll now go into the video, go to the next camera, look for the same thing, and there it is. Right there is our peak. Select it, delete. And we'll go to the last camera and find it. And there it is. And delete. Using that C to cut it, and there we go. Now we have 3 videos, and we'll bring it back to a 3-minute marker. And if you hold your mouse over this bar down here with this dot, or you can drag it, you can scroll in and out. So I'll scroll out a little bit and drag this bar, and then I'll press spacebar, let it play, and there you go. I don't know if this camera's going to pick it up, but it should have all been in sync. So the next thing to do is I like to watch the whole video usually from just the scope cam point of view. Maybe I'll start with the POV head camera just to get to a good point in the video where I think I'm basically looking for that first point of contact, because when you're making airsoft content, that's what you're really going for. You're going for the hits, the action, the glory. That's what people are like looking to watch. You don't have a huge retention time frame. You know, people are clicking off if it isn't entertaining pretty quick. So you want to stay in that range. So we have that set up here, and we will hit spacebar to let it play, and we'll get to a point where we're like, oh, well, maybe this one where I want to start the video. But right now I'm just looking for action. So this is where I'm going to demonstrate what I was talking about earlier, where just a head camera isn't fantastic. Maybe for indoor, because your interactions are so close quarters that sometimes even the scope camera doesn't do very well, because it can't zoom in that far. It's not made for that. It's made for outdoor long distances. So actually in indoor I'd almost say you just want the head camera and the reverse camera. You can put the zoom camera, of course. I've used it in some of my recent videos from the Clarksburg MK Arena, which I highly recommend going to, but it usually doesn't pan out very well. So right here, if I zoom in really far, you can see there's a person running here. I know there's a person in this window, and I believe there's a person over here. So let's kind of just pull it back a little bit. Oh, way too far back. But here, we'll zoom in a little bit so I can drag better. But yeah, so you have us running up the hill, and then as soon as I raise the gun, yeah, there you go. Person, and there's going to be a person in the back right there. So 3 people, but you can't see them from this point of view. And what I'll see people do all the time is, and if you're watching over here, those red peaks are the gun shooting. Airsoft, of course. So what I'll see people do all the time is, you know, maybe they will, oh, one sec, they'll use a hit marker, or maybe they won't. But so it'll look something like this, and this is my hit marker. We'll go kind of into how to do that, and they'll just do something like this where it plays out. Boom, there's your hit, done. Maybe I hit them, maybe I didn't. You kind of see what I'm talking about here, where it's really hard to watch that and have a believable or entertaining story. It's like, oh, what are these little dots you're shooting at? And we'll also get into a little bit later how to kind of direct your viewers' attention, which I just recently started doing on my channel, and I found it's very helpful, and a lot of viewers seem to appreciate it. So let's show what we really should do. So like I said, I'll use the POV camera just to basically get to where I want to be, and then I'll start watching from the scope camera. So we'll drag the scope camera up so we have that viewpoint, and we'll be able to focus on that material. So once we have it in place, we will look for something we want. So right here we have lots of shots. Like right off the bat, you can see those shots going in to that area. You can slow them down, and like I said, use the greater than and less than symbol to kind of follow that shot in. You can see two people here, and you can see my BBs are going just a hair high, literally right over his head. Like right there is the BB. Actually right there, you can see it just barely goes over his head, so narrowly missing. This is also another reason I say don't tell people they're cheating, because sometimes you're missing by like this much, or this little branch here you're hitting, or maybe it doesn't quite look like you're hitting this but you really are. So just be careful about that, and you'll see that when you start editing a lot. But we'll take this and we'll cut it, all three, and we will delete the scope cam, and then we'll take these and drag it up. That's really important because you're going to make this kind of waterfall staircase of your content. Make sure you're zoomed in or scrolled out in a way that's comfortable to you, and then now we will watch this for a little bit and we'll find what we want. Boom, there's our action shot. So there's the hit. That's what we were looking for per se. So now how do we want to story tell this? Because as you can see, I run up and there's a lot more stuff that happens, and then I take that shot and it hits. But your average viewer, maybe you want to do something where delete all this and you just start from the run in, and then you would, well, let's back it up just a little bit. That's a little too close for what I'm trying to demonstrate. Yeah, right here. So once we have this, this will be the start of the video, and as soon as we start taking shots, maybe we'll do a few shots like letting it show from this point of view. We'll delete all that, and then we'll take this and drag it, and when it makes the red, it's connecting those two side by side. So now we have, it looks like this, run up, boom, take some shots. What do we want to do next? And this is where I'm talking about, you'll notice other YouTube content creators do this all the time. They just don't tell you they're doing it. I do it all the time. Don't tell you it's happening, but it's where you basically are taking, you know, your average 20-30 minute airsoft game, and you're making it a 5 to 8 minute airsoft video consistently, and that's, you're basically just doing this formula, which is move, shoot, and keeping that all the time, where it's this consistent action train. So how do we do this? You're going to take your camera angle from the head point of view, and we're going to move it to a point that we like. So here you see, in real life, I went around, talked to my partner, did things that everyone knows they do in airsoft all the time, pointed out a target. But how do we make this look solid? So we're going to do it like this. We're going to look for basically a similar, you're trying to find the last frame basically of your POV camera, and you're going to match it with a frame that happened way later. Like look, this is like a minute gap almost. We're going to cut all this, delete, done. Now we're just going to do a time jump, and your audience, their brain is going to rationalize this, and they're going to connect the dots in their head, and it's going to help do that. It's taking advantage of a psychological thing that most people's minds are going to do. Very few people are aware of what's actually happening. So now we have this, so it's going to look like boom, run up, shoot, and then I take the gun down, which is a logical thing. Your brain's going to rationalize that. It's going to be like, oh, this makes sense. He ran up, starts shooting, then takes cover. Let's real quick pause and hit one more thing I want to hit real quick, which is overlays for the scope cam, because some people just leave it like this zoomed in. I like to do an overlay, and you can zoom in, and I've marked it as this yellow formula, and you want to again keep it connected. So now when it goes here, you have your scope, and it's a little bit more satisfying, adds that realism element. And what I would do is also add a hit marker, which I've made, and you can make your own. You can find them online. You can take anything and basically remove the background. You can remove the background and put it in the way you like it. So I would basically, when I'm doing this, I'll grab this and I'll move frame by frame by frame till I find the hit shot. That one misses, it's way over there because he dodges, and then that one, I think it, so I've watched this a few times when editing this. I think what happens, again, this is where I say like editing is crazy, Airsoft is crazy because it's not a super accurate thing. I think this shot that's coming in, well, that one hits very low, so never mind, it's not that shot, it's the shot before that. Yeah, this shot. You see it go in, and it hits right here. I think it hits the top of this and bounces straight down. So what I'd do is I'd grab my hit marker and I'd drop it in right there, because that is the shot that hit him. Yes, it's a ricochet, but he didn't know that in the moment, so we're going to count it. Ideally, when doing this, I'd like to use a better example where it's just a straight shot, but for sake of purpose, you should understand I'm just showing you how to use the tools, and this is how you do it, and you can do it your way. So in this, I have this little symbol, this is the hit symbol, and then this is the audio track down here. So we now have put those in place, and now it plays like this, boom, hit, and gone, and then there's him calling the hit. So how do we do some cool stuff with this? Because there's a lot you can do. For example, my hit marker, if I click it right here, it selects it. I can make it bigger, smaller, do whatever I want, or Control Z, bring it back to where it was. I can also use this little arrow over here, go to transform, and I can control other things. Opacity is a really, really cool tool. You'll use it a lot probably. It basically allows you to control the visibility of something. You can make it 100% the way it looks, or you can make it disappear to 0 and it vanishes. So what I have is I have it set to 100 the whole way at the start, and then right here I have it set to 100. So it's going to tell it, these little diamonds are going to tell it to keep it 100 all the way to here, and then I've set it to 0 here, so it knows between here and here it's going to make it disappear, as you can see that happening. But let's say I want it to last like longer, like I don't want it to zero out quite so like gradually, I want it to happen really fast. I could just take this, type in backspace 99, so now it'll stay solid, and then boom, it's gone really fast. You'll use that tool a lot. You can also control position, scale, rotation. We'll get into that a little bit later when I show how to help the viewer see your target. But there we go. So now we have our hit marker. We've shown a little bit how to place it, how to do that. Again, remember your waterfall technique. So this should be with its bit of footage. Same with here, there's nothing, no overlays, so there's nothing there. But now we're going to jump to the next, the magic part, because you all just saw what really happened. Now we're going to tell the story we want to tell. We're going to make reality whatever we want it to be. So boom, I take the gun, I go down. So the way we want that to look is right there. It's going down. I've watched this a lot when editing, so I know what I want to do here. But usually you'll kind of figure this out by kind of watching everything all together. But you see, I'll kind of talk to my teammate. We're discussing whether or not to use a grenade to get rid of the last remaining guy, because he's really dug in and he's not peeking. That's where all this dead space is. It's, you know, I want to take a shot. I want to get rid of this enemy and then move up and complete the objective. But we can't do that because this guy's dug in, and if we do that, he's just going to hit us because he has the advantage. So this is where your reverse camera comes in handy, because now I can look for something like this where, you know, I start moving the gun in a way that tells the story I want. So we'll cut right there, drag everything all together, and now we have something that looks like this, which is believable because you saw me go from a shooting stance and then now I'm setting the gun down, which flows. You want to look for things that make sense. It should move in a way that your brain will rationalize correctly. Obviously, if you do a hard cut where it's like this, and then all of a sudden the next shot, the reverse camera, you're laying down on the ground, but you were standing, that's going to be more obvious. And maybe you're okay with that, and that's fine too. Some of the big YouTubers I've noticed have gotten kind of lazy, and they do that a lot now. So we'll look for something like that. Go to where now the gun is out of my hands, so I don't have a gun in my hands. We'll cut. And now we're going to, like I said, a grenade was thrown. So we're going to go to basically, I'm figuring it out for 10 seconds, but those 10 seconds are boring. So we're going to go here, cut all that out, drag. So now it's going to play like this. Shoot, put the gun down, pause for a minute, and even then, maybe if I wanted to, I might go a different route here to make this a little faster, because this is pretty long. You could do something different where you do basically the gun going down like that, and then let's real quick bring this back for a minute, and we'll look for basically when I put the gun down, yeah, that. So we're looking for a gun going down, me backing up, boom, backing up, and then, so see how we saved just a little bit of time here, and now it'll look like that, and even then we can maybe even trim off that, and now we have that to work with, and then we can do one of my favorite shots, which is I like to show the pulling the pin of the grenade. I think that's really cool. So, and I like to show the throw. So I will find that right there, cut all this again, delete it, and we'll go right to hand going out. So we'll use again that greater than, less than, line all that up, and this actually adds probably a little bit more than there was. Actually, I think it's a little less, but if it does, it's still more entertaining. So now you have grenade in hand going out, boom, it lands, then you have gun coming up. So we will do that, bang, and we'll drag that over. So something I do want to go into, let's say, so right here you'll see there's a big rise where the grenade goes off, that's the sound right there. So we'll go a little bit before it, zoom in, cut, boom, a little bit after, you don't need to go that far after, and cut. And we'll take this little segment and you can go down to this arrow, go to audio, and 12 is your loudest you can make it. So basically we're going to make that grenade really pop, we're going to make it loud. I like to do that because these cameras don't have incredible audio to begin with, so this will really help give a really nice crisp bang. I don't know if this camera picked up because it also doesn't have incredible audio, but there you go. So a lot louder and a lot cooler. So there's the grenade going in, and maybe I'll right here where that loud bit goes, I'd add a hit marker, and I know it's somewhere over there because that grenade went off next to him, and we will grab that, drag it all together down, and then boom. So now we have that, and the next thing usually you would do is, again, we're going to follow that formula of move, action, move, action, move, action. So we want to get to that next action bit. We've moved, we've done action, we did a movement, a reverse, some form of movement to prepare for another action. We did the action with the grenade, so we have hit with the gun, movement to the grenade, action with the grenade, now another movement like we did just pulling back, and now we need to look forward the next time I take a shot. So the way I would do this is, yeah, so you see right here in the POV, I start to pick up the gun, but our last frame was a POV from the head, a light green, so we know we can't just cut straight to here, there'll be an obvious change. So we'll cut all that, and we'll go to our reverse camera, and we're looking for this angle, this type of thing right here where the gun is pointed down, which makes sense, your brain will rationalize that because before the gun was out of frame. But if you're piecing this together, in the frame before, the gun is placed down on the ground and my hands are both occupied on the grenade. Also, that whole time you missed me, where did the grenade come from, how to get to my hands, but your brain is already it's telling your mind, you know, it all makes sense. Yeah, that happens, especially people that play a lot of video games, movies, they do this all the time. So you know, the gun was on the ground, but all of a sudden I have it perfectly. So we're looking for this type of thing, down to up. And also, it doesn't quite matter, because right here I think I'm down a little bit, and I'm not quite up. But you can't quite tell with the surroundings. Maybe I am at the top of that wall, maybe I'm a little bit lower. So we'll do that, cut, drag that over to where we want it. So now looks like that. I would even cut off all that, don't need all that extra. You want to make that part seem fast. And then we're just gonna get to the next bit, and maybe you'll even do a little bit of the rise. So do a half rise, so I didn't quite start as low as I was, and then boom, full rise, cut all that, delete that, drag this over, and then again, that's where the scope camera comes in handy, because look, I'm shooting at this little top here, but it's really hard to see that with just the POV camera. So we're going to help that by dragging up our scope camera, and all of a sudden, boom, there it is. And this is a poor example because like I don't end up hitting him, but I'm gonna kind of get the point across anyways using this example. So all the time in Airsoft you have these moments where you start shooting at a target, they duck down, you do this little firefight back and forth volley thing. Well, with this type of deal where you have this scope camera that changes your point of view, you can take advantage of it. So let's say, you know, I shot here and missed, shot here, missed, and then boom, I hit him in this frame. Again, I wish I had a video that was just a little bit more perfect to show this with, but I'm sure the concept is not foreign, it makes sense. So you can jump to that hit shot. You also see big content creators do this too, where you can slow down the shot, you can make it go faster. So they might actually be shooting a 3-round burst, but they make it look like a perfect single shot headshot every single time. And what they're doing is they're slow-moing the shot, which we can kind of show that back here with the scope cam footage from before. So let's take all of this from before, and we can, so we don't deselect, drag it, move that over a little bit, and what we'll do is, so we know that first shot misses, so we'll take right here, we'll cut, and we'll select it, right click, go to speed, and we'll go to 50%. What you're going to notice is that green bar will double in size, just like that. So now it's twice as long. And basically we can slow down that BB, and then cut, and I like to do a slow, and then to a fast, and then drag your scope overlay a little bit longer. So now it'll play. Again, your editor plays a lot slower than what it's going to play once it's exported and published. And depending on your laptop or computer, it might not play as well either. But you'll see it is a lot slower than it was before. And then it'll speed up. And you can slow it down way more, like 25, 13, whatever speed you want to make it. So now we have it a little bit slower so you can watch that shot hit. And we'll take all this, drag it back, and drag everything back into place. So just like I said, now we'll take from the grenade, go up, and then we have the hit, which I might even make that a little bit longer because it's a little bit too fast. And then there. What you want to avoid is if you go back down, so you can see the gun go down, so we want to stop right at the peak of what I did. And then, like I said, we'd look for scope camera, and ideally we'd be looking for something like this, and we'll just say that shot hit for the sake of this. So we would take this and we'd put that in, maybe we'd slow it down a little bit so you can watch that shot, so it'll look more like boom. And again, really hard to see even in the editor, but that shot goes up there. So I was just doing a little bit of suppressive fire, trying to do an anticipation shot that he'd get up. But for the sake of this video, I know I never hit him because I end up looping all the way around and I just forget about him and go to a new area because he was staying low and he wasn't taking our bait even when we stayed low, trying to get him to peek up to try to take the advantage. So ideally, let's say for sake of this, we end up actually hitting him and all that. So we would take our scope overlay and all that, and you can hit Control C to copy, while selecting, and then do Control V to paste. We'll drop that in, make it the right size using the red, and we'll say, you know, that shot hits. So it hits like right up there or something. Yeah, it goes right there. So we'll, for the sake of this, we'll say he was peeking, it hits him, boom. And what we would do is we would then use the reverse camera to do something kind of cool where, actually with this maybe we wouldn't. So we'll take the reverse camera, and you're looking for this down movement that you'll do a lot. So I think our best way, yeah, is right here. So we're going to get rid of all this time right here and use this and put that at the end. And then we'll take the top camera, and like I said, I end up moving. So we'll use some sort of fast head movement right here, and then drag it over. So now you can tell we were way deep in the base. Go up, take a shot, it hits him. You see me do this back thing. Well, your brain is gonna kind of fill in the gap there. It's gonna say, oh, he backed up and then turned, and really that was a long gap. It took a lot longer in reality, and you know, now it runs smooth as this whole, oh, I dodged a shot. And we can even make it a little better here. We can bring this a little bit more, but we want, what we don't want is, we don't want the obvious, hey look, this wall's here. We want right, actually where I had it was perfect. So we want that idea of movement, and then there I am running to a new base. And then ideally what you'd want is, let's say I went to that base, had contact and all that, we would go right to there where I go in to take a shot, cut all that, take your scope cam, bring it up, and look for that shot. Again, like I said, I know he doesn't ever end up peeking, but there's lots of cases in gameplay where you could fit this in, and maybe it wasn't even the person you're aiming at. Maybe you'll put in a target that comes down the road. So that's kind of the base. We're just gonna delete all that for a minute and explain the exporting process and what to do. So now you have your video. Oh, we wanted to do too, explaining a little bit on how to do the overlay to help your target see something, your audience see a target. So like I said, you're running up at this very beginning and you can't really see these people. So something I would like to do is, I've made this Predator animation, if you've ever watched that movie, and like Airsoft Cam Man, Dutch the Hooligan, I think they both use it a few times. I think even Silo has. But basically what I've done, this is your soundbite, and you can take that from any sort of movie, film, YouTube, whatever. The way you do that is use something called Cobalt. You basically paste a YouTube link here, and it'll let you download it to your computer, and then you usually dump it into Handbrake and fix it to what you want. We'll go into that a little bit later. So once you have the audio and the image, your overlay image, which mine, I just found it on Google Images and removed the background and made it myself. So you can do a lot of cool things with it. So you can see I have it set up to fade in, and if we go into the transform, you can see all these diamonds. So these are the opacity, that's what's causing it to fade in. You have scale, which is going to make it big to small, because I want it to lock on the target and then zero in on them. And then you have rotation, which is what's going to allow it to spin. But I'm going to show you kind of how to do this using position. So this is just a stand still animation as of now, so it'll just sit right where I put it. But we want it to come in and follow. So right here is where it starts to come in. I'll drag it over and zoom in, and there's my target. I'll click position, and this orange ring will appear in a little yellow diamond. Don't touch the yellow diamond. Don't bother touching anything else. You don't need to type anything at the moment. You'll just use that less than, greater than, and you'll just keep dragging. You'll see these little lines appear. It's going to create a chain, and basically it's telling your editor, okay, it has to gradually follow from this point to this point and stay on this track. And in reality, it's going to be really, really smooth looking. And there we go. And you can tell already that this animation's much larger than our track. So what I'm going to do is cut right there, and you can see it's lined up with the other track, and cut that off. And we will just click it, hit delete. And then there we go. Now we have that whole strand of command that's going to tell it to stay on target. So what that'll look like, and if you ever mess up, just Control Z back, but it's going to look like this. So it follows him. This wasn't a fantastic one because it's a very small movement, and I'm also keeping my head still. But if someone like runs across and you want it to track, or maybe they come around a wall, this is a great way to do that. And it also shows you just how to use that stuff. So boom, there's my target, hit, and you know, the rest that I've shown you. So immediately going to a grenade throw, keeping the action hot, keeping it rolling, keeping it moving. So now we have our video. We'd scroll out. I like to bring my intro all the way to the top at 0, there at the beginning, and then I'll click this and I drag all the way down to the end, which I sometimes will mark it as a different color. Like I'll cut like a little sliver off and I'll make it, let's say, pink, because I know nothing else is pink, and that way I can just click it, scroll to the top, click it, and now I can drag my whole movie anywhere I want. So let's say, for the sake of this, our video ends at 5 minutes 14 seconds and 9 milliseconds. So there's two ways to go about exporting it. You can go to your composite shot, right click, properties, drag this down so you can see this, and you can literally just copy that 0, 5, 14, 9, and now it will export. But there's a caveat, a catch here. There's something I haven't shown you all, where there's this little gray bar at the very end. Well, I don't know exactly where it starts, and you'll notice this little pink line moving on your playtime there above the play button. Wherever that bar is, let's say you change your composite shot to 20 minutes, but this bar is at 11 minutes. It will stop exporting your video at that 11-minute mark. I've accidentally done this on videos. It's not a huge issue. You just drag it back. It just wastes time exporting. So you'll put this where you want, if you want to use this as the export, so then you don't have to touch your composite shot. You can leave your composite shot as an hour, and you can just zoom in real close and drag this to where you want it. Or you can do what I do, which is I use the hour, drag it all the way to the end, leave it at the end, and then when you change your film time from, let's say, an hour to that 5 minutes, like I said earlier, it will just automatically move that to the very end of your video, and it'll export the whole video flawlessly. So let's get into how to export. So you'll go right here, which is your export. You'll click it, it says export. It's pretty simple. You'll title your video, you'll hit save, and it'll start exporting here. It'll be at the very bottom. It'll usually have a little image of it rendering, have a load bar here, and it'll tell you where it's going to put that video on your computer, what file. With exporting, you have default presets, and you can make your own. I don't remember how to make your own. Still haven't figured it out on here. I thought it was here, but maybe it's under export options. I'm sure it's here, somewhere in here, where you can, you know, make your own export setting. I don't, off the top of my head, remember exactly where it is, but I know you can do it. You can control basically how you want it to export, but it has plenty of pre-options here. The 2160p UHD for YouTube would be a good one, but I have mine right here. So you'll select that, export it, boom. Once it's done loading, hopefully nothing bad happened. I do recommend always watch your videos from start to finish. It's very important, because sometimes things happen and mistakes happen, and you're not going to catch it unless you watch your video. If you want to do narrations like I do, again, this is where opacity is going to come into hand here. And a tip I learned from Joseph from the Knowledge team is take a blanket, find like your laptop setup, and you'll just put it over you and your laptop. It just basically creates a nice environment for you to record audio. And then you'll take your phone and you'll watch your video all the way through. Have a Word document, you'll do like Alt-Tab in and out, and You'll type up the whole Word document. I like to have little numbered bullet points. You'll record with your phone screen, just so you can record the screen, zoom in on that number, and record that clip. Then when you watch the video, you can just like drop them all in, change all the opacity to 0, so it's on the video, the audio, but the visual isn't there. They're not going to see, your little script that you've basically written. And like I said, that trick about recording it will be really, really useful. It does change your voice a little bit, but I tend to like it more. So now we've exported it, we have our full video, you've watched it from start to finish, make sure there's no gaps. If there is a gap, you can try to drag everything, all of your overlays. If we go to viewer real quick, let's say you have overlays like this one. So let's say we're doing some sort of overlay that's like this, where it's basically our kill marker count, which is super easy to do. It's just a little mark and K and a D and then the channel name. But I want that tally mark to appear, where the hit is. So I would that's the hit marker, the start of it. I'll just go to my tally, hit C to cut, and boom. So now the first part of the video, there's no mark. When the hit happens, it'll appear. And you can do that with all sorts of things. But that's the gist of it. So you've exported your video, you have it. You can now go to YouTube and go to create, upload video, select files, and we'll just use this video as an example. You'll drop that in, title your video name right here. You can add a description if you want. You can upload a file for, the thumbnail. We're just going to throw that in. I always select no, it's not made for kids, because I think there's limitations especially with guns and airsoft content with kids, that you can run into problems, and you'll hit show more. And this is really important because if you scroll down, there's add tag. So I'd do something like Woodland, hit enter, Viper, Airsoft. Basically, these are keywords. When people are typing things in the search menu, these words will help bring your channel to the top. Your YouTube Studio app, once you have a YouTube account, will tell you what's popular, and sometimes you can throw in words like that, things that are commonly searched, if you want. I tend to keep things relevant to what I'm making. I highly recommend, once you hit next, you'll have an add and end screen. Add it, go for something that fits your end screen. You can drag it around. This is going to be your channel. Next video, you can hit edit, throw in a video here. Sometimes they'll suggest it'll be like video suited for your audience member. So it doesn't have to be, something you've selected. Hit next, go to public, and then scheduling. Huge nice thing to do, because maybe you want it every Friday and you have your video ready. This is a great way to do it. And then you can also control PM, AM. I go for 12 o'clock PM every time, because that's what my YouTube Studio says people are watching. So there you go, and you hit schedule and it started uploading. But I'm not obviously going to do that, and we're gonna cancel upload. And there you go. There's some other cool things, 'cause sometimes your thumbnails are too big. I use this imresizer.com. You select it. You can control how big it's going to be. It's really nice. It basically degrades the quality, because thumbnails aren't allowed to have crazy quality. There's other things like fancy stencil. You can write words, hit all these different presets to get all sorts of cool words, stencils. There's Footage Crate, also has tons of free stuff. You can just I think you can download like 5 items a day. They have tons of nice transitions. For example, I have the glitch one. This is where I got mine, right here. I thought there was more on here I got, but this is all, oh yeah, that one over there. So 2 there, but you can do all sorts. These are nice transitions. There's even overlays. You can find all sorts of cool stuff on here. Again, they'll try to get you to pay for it. Just look for a way that you don't have to pay for it. Yeah, so that's a lot of the basic tools I use. If you really want to get into things, I use Krita. It's a way to basically, let's say I want to put in, we'll take this and we'll delete it. We'll hit right click and hit, should be a remove layer. Why am I not seeing it? Oh, just hit delete. No. Okay, won't let me delete it for some reason. Oh yeah, because it's locked. Hit unlock and then remove layer, because we don't want that there. And then now I can file, import animation frame, but what I like to do is just go straight to my files, because you can do stuff like this, where let's say I want to take Alliance, I can just drag it, hit insert as new layer, and there it is. You can grab your select tool, grab it, you can grab this tool which allows you to make it bigger, and then you can do cool things like, you know, use your eye droplet tool, or well, your bucket tool, and then boom, I can make letters whatever color I want, export it, and then you know, you can just color any overlay to the way you want it and customize things. So that's a way to do something like that. Export it to YouTube. I think we've hit pretty much everything I want to hit. So yeah, if you have questions, just let me know down in the comments. I'll be happy to answer. I know this isn't a very comprehensive video. I'm kind of flying through things, and I have obviously a lot of experience using this, so it's a lot easier for me to use it compared to someone who's never used it. But I hope this kind of answers a lot of the basic questions you might be having when working with something like this. And yeah, just have fun with it and figure out what you want to do with your channel. Are you going for storytelling? Or are you going for, hey, I just want to upload my Airsoft to YouTube to look back on and be like, oh look, that was me, I did that. I shot that guy from like really far away and it was cool. Or are you like, hey, I just like want to make really cool videos, and if people like them, they'll watch them, and that's what I do. I'm like, I just want to tell my story, have fun with it, and tell it in a way that people are going to watch it and just be like, oh wow, that's Airsoft, I want to try that. So have fun with it. Let me know what you think of this video, if it helped, if I missed something or went over something too fast. I think one thing I forgot with the hero session, highly recommend just getting off Facebook Marketplace. Of course, be careful when buying something secondhand, but they're super cheap on there. People are always selling them, and that's where I got both of mine. And yeah, that's pretty much it. You can do external battery packs with cameras, mounts, wires. A lot of extra weight. You'll notice, especially when you start recording, it's heavy. You're putting a lot of weight on your head and on your gun. It's going to get heavier than you're used to. Try to remember to make sure everything is charged. Try to make sure you're, you know, when you export your micro SD cards, I always right click on everything and cut, not copy, cut it over to my external hard drive. That way there's no footage on my GoPros anymore, because that way when I go to charge them, I don't have to be like, oh, did I take the footage off or not? It's off, and that way it's perfectly empty to record, because 128 gigabytes isn't a ton of space, and it fills up faster than you think. So keep them empty, keep them clean, keep them charged, and take care of your stuff, and most importantly, have fun. Just make the videos you want to make. I know this is what this video is about, so people have asked about how to do it, how I do it, and I hope this kind of shows you some behind the scenes of what I do. It's very amateur, it's nothing crazy professional, but it's how I do it, and that was what was asked to be made. So at the end of the day, I hope you had fun watching this video and learned something, and I hope it gives you the tools you need to, you know, do something. And if you make an Airsoft video, like your first Airsoft video, and you use this video to learn how to use Hitfilm Express and learn how to record Airsoft content, even if you didn't use Hitfilm Express 14, do me a favor, like literally drop that link in the comments, because that would be so cool, especially if you've made it this far in the video, you've actually watched it all and you learned something and you used it. I'd really like to see what you all make, and maybe I'll see some really cool techniques that you all come up with, and maybe I'll see some of the ones I've taught you. So that's it, that's all I have for you. This is a really long video, gonna try to clip it up, make it look nice, but it's gonna be like an hour-long video. So with that being said, stay awesome, and I hope to see you on the field.